Yeah, welcome back to ThinkTech. I'm Jay Fidell. This is Restaurants of Hawaii. You should listen to this. It's really important to reopening the economy, revitalizing our community in a way people think and feel in their daily lives. So the star of our show is the executive director of the Hawaii Restaurant Association, Sheryl Matsuoka. We're talking today about restaurant hiring challenges in 2021 with Sheryl and Sean and Minh and from various parts of the restaurant world. But let me leave it to Sheryl to introduce them and to introduce the scope of our subject and to give us at least some of the talking points that she's been thinking about.
Yes, thank you so much, Jay, for having me on again. And I would like to introduce Sean Santiago, the Chief Operating Officer of Kaku, Hawaii. We have four, and Rainbow Drive in Kalihi, right there in Kalihi. Minh Wong, who is the Chief Operating Officer for Ruby Tuesday, Hawaii. And Minh, you have three, right?
4 locations.
Four locations. Thank you for correcting me. Today, our conversation is restaurants and our whole food service industry and our hiring challenges currently in 2021 and creative hiring tactics. This is a conversation, Jay, right? How do we get more people to apply for jobs? The impact of people receiving unemployment right now, on top of that, they're now receiving a $300 a week, what they call additional unemployment benefits or plus up. So on top of their unemployment, now they're now getting $1,200 extra per month. And that's one of the reasons why, people have been telling me why they haven't decided to go back to work yet. And a lot of it is, maybe they're taking care of young children and their children are online learning, or they have a grandparent they're taking care of. So there's all kinds of family dynamics also. But, the key of what I want to talk about today is right now, we have 58,000 people collecting unemployment in our state. Currently, our unemployment statistic number is 9%. Pre-COVID in January 2020, Jay, our unemployment number was 2%.
Right. We're the best in the country.
Exactly. We were best in the country, and now we're at 9%. We need those 9% people, if they're looking for jobs, to please consider the food service industry. Consider Gyukaku, consider Rainbow Drive-In, and the 4 Ruby Tuesdays. So there's so many restaurants looking for looking for employees right now. And one of the problems we have, Jay, is when we're short-staffed, the restaurants get really creative and get also worried, but creative in the sense where they used to open for lunch. Now they don't have enough staff, so they only open for dinner. They used to open 7 days a week. They don't have enough staff, so they close on Monday. We used to be open till 10 o'clock at night after dinner. Now we have to close at 8 o'clock because we don't have enough staff to staff the restaurant. And one of the key things is all restaurants, they want to provide excellent customer service. They don't want to have the bad Yelp review saying, I waited in line, I waited for my water, service was slow. So instead of getting the bad Yelp reviews, we've had to reduce our operating hours. And that's not good, right? Because now we're not providing the service to our patrons. So we wanted to have a conversation today. We need all skill sets in our restaurants. We need back of the house, which are our prep cooks and our cooks. We need front of the house, which is our hosts and our servers. And we need managers, both in the kitchen and in the front and in general, the whole restaurant. So there's creative things that restaurants can do. So I have these two gentlemen up here. I have a list, Jay, of creative things that, I've been listening to different restaurateurs who have implemented programs, but, that would be an hour-long show. So go ahead, Jay. You can ask your questions to Sean and then I can talk about some of the things that I've been hearing that restaurants are doing to get creative, including social media, Jay.
Yes. Well, every port in a storm, every single one.
Got it.
So let's start with you, Sean. And what have you been doing to trying to get staff? How much staff do you need? What are you missing? Maybe somebody watching this program will call you.
Right.
We should give them your website or your phone. What's the experience like in trying to man the ranks or woman the ranks again?
At 2% unemployment, we were struggling. At 9, it's a travesty for us. Fortunately for Kaku and Rainbow Drive-In, we still do get frequent inquiries. Getting them to go through the process is another challenge. They have to go through the interview, they have to adjust their lives, and getting that plus up doesn't help. For us, my best advice for any restaurateur, any business in general, is to use your current employee pool, and we run a referral program. It's very beneficial in the sense that my employees that work for me now have worked for me for a long time. They can attest to what the job actually is. I could post ads about how great working at Kaku is, but when you hear it from one of my employees, it's a totally different story. They could tell their cousin, their friend, their neighbor, we have job openings. This is exactly what you're going to do in this job. And there's actually a benefit for them to do that, where if the employee stays for 6 months, the new hire employee gets a certain amount of money, and the person that referred them gets a certain amount of money. So that's one incentive. The second incentive is for that referral, they're not going to tell them anything about the job that actually isn't true, because they currently work in it. So to me, I could put ads on Indeed or Craigslist or this and that, but my best way to get employees is to use my current employees to tell their friends, their neighbors, their cousins, their family, the list can go on and on. So hopefully that's enough, but we need to get back down to the 2 percentile, because 9, we're stretching people out, and it's gonna result in high turnover.
Yeah, water everywhere, but
Yes.
sometimes not a drop to drink. So let's talk about the factors that are in play here. The first factor I would call to your attention is the physical availability of a prospective employee. May not be here anymore, may have left town, may have joined family on the mainland, and that's it for that. Hawaii didn't work out, even for local people. So they're gone, they're out of the pool. Another is the competition you're talking about. There's only so many people in the pool for whatever reasons, and various businesses, restaurants are all trying to find them at the same time. We're in a reopening, and we all want, all the restaurants want the same thing. So there's not as many people as you would like to see in the pool. And the third category, and this is more complex, is that some people are out there, they need work, they're still here, but they're intimidated by the whole process. They're intimidated on the one hand by having to be judged at an interview, having to go through the paperwork, the bureaucracy, if you will, and then being judged by their supervisors on the job and by their co-employees on the job, and they're worried about failing in the job. They might have been successful before, their restaurant may have failed. Now they have to go into a new environment, and they're uncertain about that. There's a fear factor, and finally, there's the factor of, call it the patron factor. As you go into a restaurant, you're not sure who's there, who's sitting at your table, who's walking in the door. Those people may or may not have been vaccinated. They may be carrying virus. You don't know, and so you don't want to bring that home with you, and so they don't want to be in the pool. So how do you get by these various challenges, Sean?
Well, fortunately for us, we're still doing it. We have enough people to run the shifts. The only thing that worries me is burnout. We have enough people to cover, but we are afraid of being understaffed. Now when we went from 0 to 50%, just getting enough people to run 50% capacity was tough. When it jumped to 75%, we had to add staff. That we had enough people, but are we giving the same quality service that we want to? I'd like to say yes, but I don't want to speak for my employees that, they're not going to tell me that you're running me too thin, because they probably enjoy the money that they're making. How do we get it to the point where we have enough people to cover the amount of shifts. And in the restaurant industry, all of my life, we fought for shifts. We did it by proving that we were the better server. We could handle more. I know my servers want to take 10 tables, but where do we draw the line on what excellent service is? Because I know I could run 4 tables excellently, but you give me that 5th one and somebody's going to suffer. And I don't want that to happen. I want everybody to feel very satisfied and the joy in the dining experience at Kaku without
Sure.
jeopardizing somebody.
Well, it's my experience, and I think it's most people. The food is important, but it's not the be all end all. You could have a perfectly fine meal that's ruined by a bad server, ruined,
Sure.
and then you won't see that client again. So let's go to you, Minh. This is complicated, and you're going to have to talk to people you haven't talked to before, and who haven't talked to you before, and they're strangers. And you have to use your social skills, your business skills, your critical thinking to decide the wheat and the chaff, because what you could be hiring is a problem. It could be they don't come in on time, they don't do good service, they don't have the social skills, and each one of them is potentially a time bomb that can wreck your restaurant, or at least wreck a diner anyway. And so the question is, how do you handle the people you're able to see for these new jobs? How do you set up the interviews? What are you looking for? How do you find the clunkers? There are clunkers. It's only natural there are clunkers. And furthermore, you may find yourself in a situation where you're under pressure to hire and maybe you compromise a little. Yeah. So tell me how that works.
We actually try to focus on culture here, and positive culture, bringing in positive reinforcement. People without experience wise, we tend to try them out and give them the opportunity to do so. So mainly, try to nurture the culture, and during the first few weeks with us, you see the true personality comes out, and we try to be competitive with our wages, so to speak, to bring them in, to have them set forth to come to us, and then work on the culture, basically, of positive culture to bring along and introduce them to our family, so to speak, at Ruby Tuesday.
Yeah, true, but of course, you want people with the right, attitude, and you want them to have those social skills, and you want them to be, what the mark of a good server anyway. The mark of a good server. I'm not even talking about the, back of the house now, but the mark of a good server is that person likes people. This is all about inviting, the public into your dining room and making them feel that at home there. It's like the Irish pub concept. Come live with us, spend your afternoon with us, whatever it is. And so you have that, but you also have something else. You have both of you guys, I'm sure. You have systems, you have practices, you have, whether it's written down or not, you have a rule book about how your restaurants are different from all the other restaurants in the world. And that means training. It means, careful training, and it means correction. When the employee goes off the side, how do you handle that for a new employee who may have experience or not, and may have a nice attitude, but needs to know how you operate?
Yeah, our training process actually is anywhere from 2 weeks to a month, so to speak. So we're willing to invest that much in a new employee, and in that aspect, if they enjoy doing what they got hired for, you see their personality comes in, and the culture where they want to deal with guests, and to be in the right I guess the right atmosphere where they are. It actually shows during their training process. So they usually train with a veteran employee and that knows the ropes, and their true personality comes out during the training. So yeah.
And the dark side is, suppose you have a clunker. In my business experience, you could have a great interview, a great resume, a good story, but like an hour in, an hour, maybe two. You find out this isn't going to work. What do?
We have a few of those. Then we actually talk to them and see what works and what doesn't work. And if their personality doesn't work, unfortunately, we have to continue looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, where are you reaching? Sean was talking about, the best place is the word of mouth from existing employees. Where are you reaching out to get people to come in?
We have that. We have word of mouth. We have employee referral programs going on. We have a website. Come join our team. Social media, which we have to push a little bit harder. But in actuality, we have enough to fill the spots right now. But we don't want to burn out our staff. So just a little bit of cushion would be great. At 2%, everybody was very cushy. 9% now, right now in our kitchen staff, a lot of them enjoy the overtime. They get a little bit extra, and but in the long run, we don't want them to be burned out and perhaps stuff. So yeah, all the quality employees that we have, we actually giving them a little boost internally ourselves too, and keep that positively up in our chains.
Yeah, you and Sean both mentioned the possibility of burnout and trying to avoid it, but what is it? How do you know? Is it glaze over the eyes, this kind of zombie look? Is it dropping the glassware on the floor? What is burnout?
You can see that in the quality of their product that they're making, so to speak, or like guest service, as far as a front of house, their PPA, so to speak. Either they just want to quickly move on to the next customer just to get the volume. For the back of the house, the quality of their product that's coming over the line, and so to speak. So you can see the quality of their work, and we have managers that can kind of recognize those aspects right away.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you offering the same pay as before, or have you increased your offering pay in order to attract more people?
We definitely did increase. I think right now back of the house, we're in the bracket of $14 to $16 an hour.
Yeah, which is more than before.
Which is more than before. Yeah.
Yeah. Sean, I want to go to a more complex analysis of this with you, and that is, coming out of a COVID recession, it's not so easy. And the reality, and Sheryl will tell you this, the reality is for the state, restaurants are a very important industry. They're what get us out of the house. They would give consumers, guys like me, a level of confidence that they can leave the house and go to share with people and be close to people and have conversations again, that we were not doing for a year. And so rebuilding an economy, it does involve restaurants. It does involve, bringing the restaurants up to a level of business where they raise all boats. So they're in my view, a critical feature in reopening the economy. On the other hand, within the restaurant, there are certain factors that you have to pay attention to. One of them, obviously, is employees. And what I'm really asking you is, how do the edges of the blanket work here? If I want to resume business as it was, or better, if I want to get my restaurants to really do well, where do I start? What's the first thing and the second thing? And then how do I tune my strategy based on, tables filled and revenue and so forth? How do you see these various factors playing into an increase in business over the next, say, 6 months?
It's work and training for us. Like when we reopened our dining room, they said 50%, and we were like, how are we going to make money doing this? So we went along with the 50%. The amount of extra money that we had to spend on chemicals and gloves and face masks and everything just bombarded us at one time. It took us time to get good at 50%. When we went to 75%, we had to readjust. The crazy thing is, right when it went to 75%, we had droves of phone calls saying, "Hey, I want to book a party for 100 people." And that's a buyout for us. we had to get to the point where, are we comfortable having 100 people show up at one time? And, doing that in general is tough. We still get parties of 20s and 40s that we have to split around the room, and we have to limit the amount of conversation they can have. So we deal with all of these different situations where I'm not the type of person just yet that is willing to host a party of 30 people at my house because I'm unsure of, were you at the beach? Did you go to that concert? So on and so forth. So I have to play both sides of the coin for that. We have to be cautious. We can be as clean as we can be, sanitize the tables, use our best judgment in those situations, but the sensitivity is different for everybody. So if anybody has the right way to handle that, I'm open ears. But we try to stay, for our restaurants to be successful, whether it be 50%, 75%, or 100% capacity, we have to be at capacity all the time, and also be cautious of, are the customers waiting outside staying 6 feet apart? Can we turn the tables fast enough to accommodate it? Because wherever you go now, there is going to be a little bit of a wait. I would like to tell the future customers and the current customers, if you can take that into consideration, it is very much appreciated. But we need time to sanitize your tables. We still
Give me
need
a
to spend
prediction.
quality. Yeah, we need to spend quality time with our current customers because that's still part of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
To build your base.
Yeah, during COVID, do you guys really want us to spend time at your table like we used to and talk about the weather and the news and things like that? So we're trying to make our own adjustments also.
I got a prediction for you, Sean.
Okay.
Everybody that I know wants to get back to restaurant living, but they're trying to make a timeline. They're trying to say when. So, for example, some guys I know want to celebrate an event. Okay, so when would that happen? Well, 6 months from now, in September. And my prediction for you. See if Sheryl agrees with my prediction is you're going to have this. If you think you have long lines now, wait until people reach the date by which they have set in their mind that they're coming back. Then it's going to be all around the block. Minh, I wanted to ask you about the changes. We've talked about, for example, offering more wages. Sheryl and I and other shows here in restaurants in Hawaii have talked about various changes with various restaurant entrepreneurs. And you're in the middle of that now. You're deciding, I'm sure, how it's going to be going forward. And not only what techniques you use to get to the next level, but how the level is going to be. Restaurants are, may I predict also, restaurants are not going to be the same as they were. And for example, you run into the whole thing about the vaccine passport. And you may want to make sure your employees have proof of vaccine or not. And the same thing with your customers. Because if I know everybody in the place has been vaccinated, that gives me a lot of confidence. If I don't have so much confidence. And if you're competing against other restaurants that don't seek that, you win. So query, how do you think your best practices are changing now, and how will your restaurants be doing in 6 months' time and for the long haul?
Well, if we keep up the cleanliness and the comfortability for both our staff members and for both our staff members and our guests, I think we'll be doing great. Right now we're at 75%. Still capacity wise, but a lot of our tables is still positioned 6 feet away. That's to show the guests that we actually care. We want to have them spaced out. Like our lanai used to carry upwards of 100 people. Now it's only up to 40 people to keep their social distancing. a guest that comes in, want to have a big party, 20 people, we try to keep them separated, oh, sorry, you can't go walking around, but in a nice, gentle way to keep our staff safe and the guests safe. And to me, when I go out in other restaurants, if I don't observe like those social distancing stuff, I feel a little bit weird and weary to even go back to those places, so to speak. So, just as long as we keep up the standards of the guidelines and everything, I think we'll make a lot of guests feel comfortable to come back.
Yeah, you gotta tell me though. You gotta tell me, you gotta show me, you gotta remind me, you gotta prove it up to me. So that I'm surrounded with that kind of evidence as I walk in and have my meal. No.
Yeah, we definitely do. Try to clean from wiping down the tables, wiping down our chairs, give it some time to let the chemicals react to have them work. Social distancing, temperature checks, tracking information. We try to dot our I's and cross our T's in the kitchen wise. Everybody wear masks. They need some time to breathe. We give them in between breaks, so to speak, a couple minutes outside to get fresh air, and try to uphold all those standards to have the guests feel, because some of our kitchens, they can actually see from outside and from people outside to see inside, and we just want to make sure that they feel comfortable coming back to our restaurant.
You tell them not to schmooze.
I'm sorry?
You tell them not to schmooze.
Schmooze.
Schmooze. Sheryl, help me on this.
He's a young guy.
Stand over the customer and
Yeah.
have a discussion about the daily news, what have you. That's what I mean. Do you tell them not to do that?
Oh, actually, we're still trying to create that personal contact, but front of house, everybody wears gloves, everybody wears masks, present themselves, and so still creating that personal touch. So we definitely want that, for our front of house.
Yeah,
employees.
true. You got to have it. There's an absolute necessity. Make them feel at home, that you're in.
Definitely.
That you're in, someone's home. So your thoughts about the vaccine and the possibility of proving up on vaccines? Is this going to stay with us? I mean, it's not clear yet whether it's going to happen. And every day there's articles in the paper, and including the local papers, about whether there should be a vaccine passport kind of a thing. In Israel, I just saw in the news yesterday. Israel, they have it. They have vaccine passports. That it really governs business, and including restaurants. And there's a benefit if everybody goes along with it. But if they say it's against their constitutional rights, then you're creating controversy instead of a solution. What's your thought about that, Sean?
Well,
there's a lot of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth. Some people are comfortable getting it, some people are not. I have a few friends that's hesitant. Some people prefer this one because, like, I think Asia, they require the 2-shot vaccination. So they rather take that, because they want to go back and visit their family. A lot of people are doing it for travel. A lot of people, if you look at the numbers, it's keeping people out of the hospitals and stuff. So I feel we're moving the right way. I think Hawaii, we're one of the top guys to have our populations vaccinated. So in the state, so we're very proud of that aspect. So I'm for one, for that.
Yeah.
For the passport.
So you ask them when they come in for an interview?
I'm sorry?
You ask them. Mind you, just today's paper, now there'll be vaccines for people who are 16 and over.
16, yeah.
Yeah, that's really terrific. Did you ask them? Do you want to know? Are you concerned about asking them that they may react to the question?
We do. That's one of I think that's what a subject in everybody's mind, so to speak. I just recently had a interview for a manager. I even asked, oh, did you take the vaccine? What is your side? How do you feel about that? And then said that he took his first shot already. He's going to take his second shot later on, and then it's just a sense of mind that that you sort of just get it done so to speak, because in the long run, it's going to help out everybody.
Sure, and it's going to help the restaurant and business.
Yeah.
Sean, how do you feel about this?
I'll be honest, in the beginning, I didn't know if I was going to get vaccinated. I didn't know if it was necessary, but I got vaccinated. I got my second shot the other day. It took me out for 5 days.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And now I just found out that this may be an annual thing.
Yes.
So if this is what we got to do to get back to normal, I'm in 100%.
Good.
I encourage my guys, especially my managers, I talk to them, see when they're getting scheduled for their shots, and hopefully that just trickles down to their employees and they find the importance of it. I think to get back to normal, everybody has to have that little force field, regardless of how philosophical you are about it. But if you contributed to that, you got your vaccine, that's just one more step closer to going back to any type of normalcy.
Absolutely. Good point. Sheryl, it's time for you to summarize this discussion. Add any more of your talking points you like, and leave a message, or synthesize the message we've heard from Sean and Minh.
The restaurant industry is open to all employees. We are looking. So if anyone's out there looking for a first job or an additional job, we're looking in our industry. So just email me at info@hawaiirestaurant.org. I can forward it to Minh and Sean. A little bit about the two gentlemen. Their businesses, Ruby Tuesday and Kaku, as Sean had said, they have a lot of employees. Some of the employees have been there since day one. So like Sean mentioned, 12 years, the employees have been there. That speaks volumes to their corporate culture.
Sure does.
Yeah, and for many people, working in a restaurant is always your first job. For those people coming right out of college or out of high school. I mean, Jay, Barack Obama's first job was
McDonald's.
Baskin and Robbins, right there.
Oh, that's right.
Right across Washington.
Right on King Street.
Right across Washington Intermediate. So a lot of people's first job is working in a restaurant, right? And so I want people to know that that's an opportunity for them. Maybe they never thought of it. It gives them, more flexibility, especially if they have children. And right now, it's the perfect time if they want to think about a career change or think about additional income. Restaurants are hiring. Email me at info@hawaiirestaurant.org, and I can forward their information over to Sean and Minh.
Thank you, Sheryl. Sheryl Matsuoka, the Hawaii Restaurant Association Executive Director, and Sean Santiago and Minh Wong. Thank you very much, you guys. A great discussion, important discussion, a contribution to the community and the industry. Thanks so much. Aloha.